Good morning, Coolest Coast. It's time for Shelf Talk with Tara and Tina. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Shelf Talk with Tara and Tina. We're your hosts. This is Tara Huck of Freshwater Press. I'm Tina Prigge of the Coolest Coast, and we're welcoming special guest today, Brittni Nelson, author of The House on Hemlock Hill. Good morning, ladies.
Good
Morning, Tina.
I
morning.
feel like this is such a happy Friday where we get to just dish about books and literature and things book adjacent. I love it.
Nice.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Brittni, let's tell viewers. So you have just finished and are prepared to launch this book, The House on Hemlock Hill. Tell us more about the book.
So, the book is a middle grade mystery meant for probably third through sixth graders. And it follows a young lady named Alyssa who moves from Chicago to rural Wisconsin into an old farmhouse that her family has inherited. And while she is there, she finds a diary hidden in kind of a hidden closet from a girl who lived there in the 1950s. And so she gets really invested in this diary, and then she finds out that that girl had gone mysteriously missing. And she works to solve the mystery.
It almost reminds me of like a Nancy Drew mystery that I loved when I was growing
Yeah,
up.
yeah, a little Nancy Drew with a modern twist. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, what inspired this story?
I had done a little bit of writing. I wrote and illustrated and then self-published a book as a gift from my mom. And after that, I just was like, "Ooh, that was fun. I think that I want to do this." And I don't know, Alyssa's story just kind of came to me one day. I had the pleasure of being a part of a book talk by Meg Medina, who is a prolific kids literature author. She is amazing. And she just talked about how she wrote things that she knew. She wrote in her own spaces. She wrote about her own community. And we've been remodeling this old farmhouse that overlooks the shore of Lake Winnebago. And I was like, this house has stories to tell. And Alyssa's story kind of just came to me. She's totally fiction, but a lot of the parts of her story are real. Like when we were redoing our kitchen floor, we found newspapers from 1887,
Wow.
I believe they were from. And we thought our house was built in 1920. So some of it must have been there in full spread pages from the Chilton Times, the Chicago Times, and then one other newspaper from a smaller town in New York. So these, amazing spreads. So, like, our house had all these secrets to tell. And so, I don't know, the story just kind of grew in my head and it floated around for a while. And after listening to Meg Medina's speech, she also was a teacher. I'm a teacher. And I talked to her afterwards and she said, just write, just start it. Like, what do you have to lose? And you don't say no to an amazing author like that. So
That's great advice. And it sounds like you're saying, write what you know.
yeah, absolutely. It made it a lot easier because I was able to incorporate some fun childhood stories. I also talked to my husband. His family had a dairy farm in northern Wisconsin. And so I was able to talk to his aunt, who would have been a child at the same time as the girl from my mystery. Um, and so I was able to get some real stories from her childhood growing up in the farm to include in it. And my mom grew up in an old farmhouse, and I was able to include her stories. So it was really fun just being able to weave in, the fiction and some of the like things that happen to people that I know. So yeah.
So, you mentioned that you're a teacher. Have your students already had a chance to read a copy of the book or not yet?
I do have a couple students who were beta readers for me, and they gave really good feedback. One young lady named Piper, she made me a whole document of things that she would suggest changing. Oh, and Jolyn and Piper made a whole document, and it was like, in this chapter, this doesn't make sense, and in this chapter, we don't like this. It was really sweet and helpful. So
Did that
yeah.
influence the direction that you took the book?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yep. We definitely used their changes and made modifications.
How valuable would you say it is, like Tara and Brittni, having a second set of eyes or those beta readers give feedback?
Oh my goodness, it is invaluable. My book would not be where it is without input from a huge variety of people.
Yes, and as a publisher, we try to get a handful or more of beta readers to see if there's common themes or if it's just a taste thing. One beta reader doesn't like the color of the house. Well, maybe that's not important. But if there's a common theme that a lot of beta readers find that a certain passage is confusing, then we know we need to focus on that. So it's kind of part of product development to get that feedback.
Is there a standard for selecting beta readers? Like, are you trying to find people that already appreciate the genre that the book is written in? Do you want people from across the board so you get all sorts of diverse feedback? What do you
Well,
look for?
I like to get the target market, the primary reading group that we're looking to capture, and then a couple outliers. Like, would this resonate with a different market segment? So like the teachers and the literacy experts and the children made sense, but maybe a grandparent should read it. And do you think your granddaughter would like this?
Yeah, or would you enjoy reading this to them if you were having story time or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
good question. So what are you guys reading?
Well, let's see. I am going to tell you, I just finished Between Two Kingdoms by Suleika Jaoud. Now, this is a true life memoir. It's interesting because she was young. She was only 22, and she was living like her best life. She had just moved to Paris and was doing an internship there, right? Everything is going gangbusters. And then she is diagnosed with leukemia, and it absolutely interrupts her life, right? And it's
Wow.
it's everything she has to go through to like deal with that, to try to recover from that, to like face life. But then when, several years in, when she does get the all clear, the reason it's called Between Two Kingdoms is even once you sort of recover your life, it's not really the same life, right? So there's kind of the before kingdom, then whatever this tragedy interruption is. And so then what becomes that life after? And it was so well done. I watched an interview with her. Like, that's how much I enjoyed the book. I like searched her out, and she was talking about when she first wrote it, it was kind of past tense. And then she had this epiphany. What if I write it in the present? So the reader really feels like they're on this journey, like immediately with me. And she said it changed the whole feel, and it changed like the dynamic feel of the book. I was blown away. I didn't expect it. I was kind of hesitant to read it, sounded kind of like a downer, right? I ended up loving it. I thought it was inspirational, and I kind of couldn't put it down. Let's see, I've got a review that somebody wrote about it. Sophia's review. It says, trauma reshapes the way we look at the world and the way we interact with the people around us, and Jaoud expertly describes the complexities of that liminal space that one exists in when going through something life-changing like cancer. If you're someone who has gone through the death of a friend or family member, a serious diagnosis, or heartbreak, this is a book for you. If you haven't experienced any of those things, this is also a book for you. While her specific experiences are rare, she speaks to a larger truth about finding selfhood in a constantly changing world. The stories she chooses to tell about the people she meets along the way are some of the most heartwarming and heartbreaking stories I've read. Not to mention, she's effing funny. Just read the book, okay? You won't regret it.
Awesome, awesome.
Have either of you read this book?
I haven't. Have you, Brittany?
No, I have not.
But it
Sounds
kind
good.
of makes me think of the book you're writing, Tina, Overcoming a Life Interruption, as a euphemism for what you've experienced, and choosing a memoir to tell that story. Were you able to like find techniques that she used that you might employ?
I'm not sure if I was paying enough attention for the techniques, because I was totally smitten by the story, but I did feel confidence in approaching our story, right? Like, okay, this is a format that works, right? And she's just authentic and vulnerable. And that's one of the things I've been struggling with. Like, how much do you put on the page, right? How much do you really share of that inner journey? And that's really all that matters, right? It's not about describing the clothes she had on or the room she was in. It's all about the experience she had. And so I thought that was really important guidance.
Yeah. When was this book published?
I think 2021.
Oh, so pretty contemporary, right? Recent.
Yeah,
And a young woman to write such a powerful book is really impressive.
right. And then I'm just happy too, like, because it was such a stressful ordeal that she went through, I wanted to look up and find out, like, how is she doing in the world today? Like, and she looks great, she looks healthy. So I was relieved to see that.
Nice.
Tara, what are you reading? Oh no, let's go with Brittany first.
Yeah, let's talk to our guest.
Sure. So I recently finished reading My Friends by Frederick Bachman. And I've read other books of his before. And this one, I don't know, this book really just stayed with me. I feel like I can't describe it too much without giving too much away, but it is a really unlikely tale of friendship and being at the right place at the right time, and how there can be two different worlds happening that kind of are happening in this parallel place. So there's this young lady who had been living in foster care, and she just really loved this postcard of a painting of the sea, and it just really spoke to her, and she knew there was more going on. And I'm an art teacher, so things about art I have a little bit more appreciation for, I guess. But and so she goes to see this painting, and then at the same time as that, the man who painted it is there to buy it back from the gallery, and she ends up on this journey with his friend. And it just, like I said, it's just the most unlikely tale of friendship. And I guess I also teach middle schoolers, and so the story of the artist and his friends growing up in with some different struggles and trials. I don't know. I just could see some of my own students in that. And it was a heartwarming book. And he is such a beautiful author. I mean, his writing is just so beautiful and poetic. And I don't know, it was fantastic. And I think anybody would love it. You don't need to like art. You don't need to like kids. Like I don't know. It was such a great tale of friendship.
Brittni, I concur with you 100%. I was so excited when I saw that you were choosing this title. I recently read it too, and I have gone down a Frederick Bachman rabbit hole. I've been reading everything I can get by him. His writing style, you're right. There's just something so warm and gentle, and there's always kind of this redemption arc, right? Like the character might seem unlikable, but then you kind of grow to like realize and appreciate. But this book, I listened to the audio version, and right from the first sentence, which I can't even remember what the first sentence was, but it was the first sentence. I'd put the book on, I was laying down, they read the first sentence, and I sat up and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a good book. And I was in, which that doesn't often happen, right? Sometimes you have to be like a page in before you start to make a determination of, I'm going to keep going. But
yeah, his writing definitely gives me imposter syndrome, because I'm like, how does he do this? How does he make these words just sing on the page? I don't know. But
yeah, how does he make it matter? You just care so deeply about the characters.
Yeah, I haven't read that one, but I did read A Man Called Ove, which was kind of slow, but really endearing characters. Were the characters in this book really something
absolutely.
you rooted for?
Yep, and it was kind of a slow burn. It took a little while to get into it, but then once you did, I couldn't put it down. So
yeah, it's just this gentle story arc, but the way he uses language is so beautiful. And yeah, I loved A Man Called Uva too, Tara. That was the first one I read by him, actually.
Yeah. What did the Goodreads reviewers think of Brittni's pick?
All right.
It's always so good. I always love reading the reviews before I read the book. I probably should not, but but I like to do that.
Brittni, can you see this on your screen? Do you want to read it?
I sure can. So, Art is Coincidence, Love is Chaos. I really needed to read this book. It was perfect. I have no other words to describe this masterpiece. Like, what the hell was I doing all these years? How had I never picked up a Frederick book? Because honestly, this was so good. It hit me so hard, and it is the kind of book where you actually sit and contemplate, but it's also very easy to read and so enjoyable. I'm so glad that this was my first book by him, because it is the perfect book to judge him by. To be honest, I was a little hesitant about reading his books. I was excited, yes, but I was also scared because they are so well loved, and everyone who reads his books ends up loving them. It's such a relief to love it as well. But honestly, it is an effortless 5-star for me, because it just hooks you, grips you, and is so consuming. I will admit that the first 19% was slow. I agree. And it took me a little time to adjust to his writing style, but when I hit that mark and was fully comfortable with this book, I flew through it. So Clace wrote that review, and I couldn't have written that better myself. I agree 100% with that reviewer.
That's the thing. Like, some books are kind of slow to start, and it's, in the beginning, and you're like, everyone loved this book. The reviews are good. People are talking about it. Like, why can't I get into it? But you got to just kind of stick through that. sometimes to just kind of connect with the author and the characters, I think.
I mean, it
Well,
makes
I
me
agree.
think. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I agree. Sometimes it is intimidating to read something that everyone loved because sometimes I didn't love it. Like there's been enough books where I'm like, I don't know why everybody liked this, but this one isn't one. This one you will love.
That's an interesting point that you bring up. If you hear too much like hype about something, does it color and affect our judgment? Like if we hadn't heard any of the hype and had just picked it up and read it ourselves, would we be blown away? But because there's so much hype, it's elevated the expectations, and then we're like, what, is it dangerous to have too much pre-hype before you read a book?
That is true. That's a good point.
Yeah, because then is it your opinion or are you just adopting the opinions of others?
It also makes me wonder if there's a right time to read a book, right? Like sometimes a book doesn't land, even if it is a great book, right? Like sometimes in our lives, sometimes I read a book and I'm like, this is perfect. Like the book I read, Between Two Kingdoms. It just was the right time, the right book. Had I read it 5 years ago, would I have felt the same way? I don't know. If I recommended it to you, would you have that same reaction? I don't know, right? Like I sometimes feel like a book connects at the right time, or if you read a book and you're not loving it, it's okay to just set it aside, right?
Yeah. How many books do you DNF as this, do not finish? I used to feel like, oh, this is a task I signed up to do and I have to finish every book I start. But the older I'm getting, I'm like, there's millions of books. Like I can't finish every book if I'm not engaged. Do you guys always finish books or do you sometimes quit in the middle or?
Yeah, Jason always says, hire fast, fire fast, right? So try something, but if you don't love it, step away. So yeah, I mean, my DNF pile probably is rapidly increasing, right? Like if I'm reading something and I invest time and I'm like, I just don't care about these characters, right? Or I just don't love this story, or I feel like this is work to read this book. I'm happy to set it aside because there's so much good literature out there, right? That you can't put down.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm learning to DNF a book. I read a series that everyone hyped about, and I won't say it because I know a lot of people like it, but I got all the way to like the 5th book, and finally I read like half of it, and I was like, why am I reading this? I didn't like the last two. Like I liked the first two, but then I didn't like those other two. Why am I still in, they're big, hefty
Was there also a
fantasy-based
TV
books.
series of this book?
There was not, no.
Oh,
But
okay.
everyone hyped it up like, oh, you have to read this. And
I'll do that. Like if it's a book I'm like just drudging through, I'll look at the TV or movie adaptation. Be like, well, I kind of want to know how it ends, but I don't want to spend like hours and hours on this.
Well, and sometimes the genre is not for everyone, right? Like I used to love like Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, right? But these days, fantasy is not so much my thing. And so if you highly recommended like a fantasy series to me, I don't know if I'd be excited about it. Not that it's not good, but it's just not where
Yeah.
my head's at these days.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it does make you wonder. So there was another fantasy series where there was a big TV show about it. Everyone loved it. It was like all the talk. And I got to book 5 too, and I like from book 3 was like, this is work. I don't love this, but everyone does. What am I missing? If I just read one more chapter, it's all gonna become clear. And like by book 5, I'm like, who wants these books? I don't read them.
Yeah.
All right, Tara, what are you reading?
I am reading The Writing Life by Annie Dillard. And I just finished it earlier this week. And I am a writer, I've been a writer for a long time. So I'm always interested in learning about other writers' lives. And this book talked about her own writing practices and also anecdotes about research she's done on other famous writers. And I think what kind of stood out is like writers take themselves way too seriously. Like they have these like big routines and they have like, and they feel like, oh, it's so monumental, at least the ones in her point of view, that I'm creating literature, and they take themselves so seriously and they sacrifice a lot. And I can relate to that because some days it's sunny and I'm sitting inside at a desk. But it was just interesting how seriously writers take themselves and what depths of extravagance they go to protect their writing life. So I really like that. I hadn't read much by Annie Dillard, but lately I've been reading a lot of biography, writing memoirs by writers. My favorite memoir by a writer is Stephen King's on writing. And I don't read horror, but he knows how to write clearly. Very prolific author and could learn a lot from him. And the one thing from his book is that he would write and he would get frustrated, and he had a family and he had bills to pay, and writing doesn't really pay the bills. And he kind of was getting frustrated, and his wife pulled Carrie, I don't know if you remember that book, out of his waste paper basket and is like, this is the one. This is the one. And I think writers really need champions. And so, but Ann Dillard's book here on the writing life was really just kind of exploring the extravagance or the eccentricities of writers. It was really a compelling short book, that you just kind of got lost into these little stories.
You just going back to Stephen King, you make such a good point that writers need champions, right? Like Carrie was his breakout debut, spawned a movie, it's still a stage show that's being performed. Like that made his career essentially. And it was in the waste paper bin.
Yeah, because I think when you're writing, in the beginning, you get real excited, like this is going to be a great book. And then you're like, oh, well, that actually didn't really turn out. And I'm tired of this book. And I don't want to look at it anymore. And then when someone says, no, let's finish this up. Let's get this in the world. Someone to cheerlead for you and encourage you. That's so important.
Yeah. And so is writers kind of fatigue or like page blindness a thing? Like, can you be working on a book so much that suddenly you kind of, I don't know, lose track, lose the thread, get tired of it?
Well, I think the thing with the writing life is there's no tangible reward. It's not like a visual artist, or other creative forms like a musician. Like, you can spend 20 hours a week or 20 years writing and nobody ever sees it. So you're just doing this for your own indulgence. And, obviously the goal is to get published and to find readers and, maybe share with your family like Brittni did. And then that's rewarding. But it's really kind of a self-care practice. Like, I'm a creative, I need to get this out, and you just keep doing it. So that lifestyle that Annie found, these stories about different writers' lifestyles, was very interesting to me.
And you mentioned her book was talking about how some writers, take themselves so seriously. Is the caution in the book that you don't have to kind of get beyond that or let it go? Or is that a valuable part of being a writer?
The opposite, actually. Like, like this is serious business and this is what it takes. And, you have to protect your writing and, so I guess, and and she wrote this in 1989. So when she was pretty new in her, earlier in her career. And as someone who's been, writing for a while, I felt pretty masterful. And the longer I've been writing, the more I learn, I need to learn more. I don't feel like such a master anymore. And I don't take myself as seriously. It's not that I'm not serious, but you know what I mean.
Isn't that a life thing though? Like that the older we get, the more we realize that we don't know much and we have a lot to learn.
Yeah, my college students know everything, and I used to be in college, and I knew everything then too, and now I don't.
Tara, would you recommend this book to other aspiring writers, or?
I think maybe not so much writers, but like kind of like voyeurs, like like people who would maybe read about other famous people, to kind of see like that behind the scenes, like what does it look like, because I think some people think like books just appear. And so to see the labor and the dedication and the years that people put into books. And it did get mixed reviews on Goodreads. But for me, I just love reading about people's lives. Memoir, biography, those are kind of my favorite genres.
You know what? You did share a review. You want to go ahead and read this?
It says, I have a love-hate thing with this book. On the one hand, it's a brilliant poetic I can't say that word, of the creative process. On the other, the process is so romanticized and the examples exalt such a ratified form of extreme self-sacrifice that I half suspect Dillard is trying to discourage and or sabotage future generations. It's a 5-star meal with a dash of arsenic. Approach with caution. So Jeff didn't really connect with it too much, but that is probably the strength of the book, is the poetic expression. Like her mastery of language and storytelling really carried it through for me. Like it was captivating that way.
Wow, nice.
So you're both writers. Let's take ourselves a little seriously. How do you protect your writing times?
Brittni?
I think I don't take myself that seriously. I just have been I've been writing a new book right now, and I've been writing any moment that I have to write. I've been writing at my kids' swimming lessons, and when they're at summer school, I've had a few hours to myself, which I don't normally get. So that's been a little bit of a treat. But I've been writing then, and I've been not getting the laundry folded and staying up too late. And I don't know. But I kind of feel like the process, when you were talking about it being different than being an artist, I feel like I've been able to get lost in it the same way that I used to get lost in a painting or, in a drawing, where you just find this rhythm and that just this peace, and the whole outside world just kind of fades away. So, but maybe I've been able to do that because I don't have a deadline and I don't have anybody waiting for this book or anything. So,
well, I think the difference, what I was trying to communicate, was that nobody sees writing. Like it's stuck on your computer or in a notebook. When you finish a painting, everyone can see that. Where if you finish a short story, someone's got to spend half hour, an hour reading it. Mm-hmm. They can't just be like, oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's interesting too, because unlike a painting where you can stand back and like look at the work in progress and think, oh, maybe I change a brush stroke here or some color here. A book to like read takes time. There's no like, oh, zip, 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 and you're done, right? Like if you're going to review a chapter, all of a sudden an hour has elapsed, right? So you have to, I found, kind of carve out time, right? So like, especially in the evenings, I'll be like, I'm going heads down, I'm closing this door. I don't want any other obligations, nobody interrupt me, right? You have to just I have to give myself time to just get lost in it because it is time consuming and takes a lot of brain power and that creativity, right? And once you get the juices flowing, you don't want to like, oh, what's that? Oh, who needs what? It's like, nope, I need just me time right now.
Absolutely.
So you kind of write everywhere, Brittni. Do you have like a writing cove or office or corner?
My favorite place to write is at the coffee shop. We have a tiny little coffee shop near my house that I just love sitting at and writing at. So that's my favorite place to write.
Do you feel like doing it in public keeps you accountable? Like there's kind of an accountability to that? Like, okay, I'm here writing, people can see me, so I need to stay focused?
I don't know. I somehow am able to tune out the people around me. I think because it's not at my house. I don't have the distractions of all the things I should be doing. So.
Well, Tara, I know Freshwater Press recently announced that instead of having a specific submission period, you're going to be accepting rolling submissions by authors that have a Lakeshore connection. What do you want viewers to know about that?
What do I want people? We really want to read more stories, and the response has been outstanding. So it's going to take us a while to get back to people. So be patient. And like you said, that first sentence of the book you read, you were hooked. And we talked about how some books are slow. When people submit, we ask for those first 3 chapters and their bio. So I guess any advice to someone who has a book they want to see published is get those first 3 chapters as a hook. Make people invested in it. And if you want to know more, grab our guidelines, subscribe to our newsletter. We're going to start pushing out writing tips through there just to help people. And we really are having a blast creating literature. And our next book is Brittni's, and she can talk about what it's like to work with Freshwater Press and her book that's coming out maybe.
Yeah.
Brittni, when is your book launching? And is there going to be like a launch party?
Yeah, so there's going to be a launch party on July 30th. At Uncorked Book Lounge in Two Rivers. It's a teacher's night out theme, but you do not have to be a teacher to come. And working with Freshwater Press has been a dream. When Tara said something about all books need a champion, I feel like Freshwater Press has been my champion as an author and for my book, and they've been wonderful. It's like having a family, so I really appreciate working with them.
And Tina, what about your book? Your book is coming out, and that's right around the corner, early 2027.
Yes, I actually can't believe it's June already. When we set that date, it seemed so far in the future. So I definitely have to get my hustle on. But I agree with Brittni that partnering with Freshwater Press, was, a brilliant move, because like you'll send encouraging messages, and those messages land just when I need to hear them, right? Like just when I'm having the most self-doubt or feeling the most discouraged, you'd be like, it's a great book, keep going. I'm like, okay, somebody cares. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So I think having that champion matters.
Yeah, this has been great talking this morning with you both. Can't wait to check out both those books, especially the memoir.
Yeah.
Yes.
This has been
Thank you so much
fantastic.
for having me. Yes, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much.
I love
Yeah.
it. All right, everybody, have a great Friday and the rest of your weekend. You've been watching Shelf Talk with Tara and Tina. This is Tara Huck of Freshwater Press. I'm Tina Prigge with The Coolest Coast. Our special guest today, Brittni Nelson, author of The House on Hemlock Hill. We'll see y'all next time.